Yeah, we can. Yes, we can start, Mohammed. I just do a quick introduction. From the numbers, I think we're almost good now.
Yeah.
So, welcome everybody to the webinar this morning on Oracle's on-premise applications roadmap. I'm Raj Lalji, the sales manager of SIL, and I have with me today Mohammed Zaitoun and Moiz Khan from Oracle on-premise team, who are going to lead us through Oracle strategy and innovation for on-premise solutions. We also would like to welcome our guests, not only from Mauritius this morning, but also guests from Botswana who have joined as well in the webinar this morning. So welcome to the guests of Botswana and Silbot's team. So the presentation today will be in twofold. In the first part, we'll go through Oracle's strategy, as I mentioned earlier. And in the second part, we will talk a bit about the readiness of SIL and our experience already in some of these adoption of innovation platforms brought by Oracle, and how we help you and how we can help you make the move. And then we shall be able to take on some questions also if you have them, and hopefully we'll have a very interactive session this morning. So that was for me. On to Mohammed, if you want to take over.
Yes, thank you, Moiz. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us in today's webinar. It's our pleasure and honor to be with you today, with hope that today's topic will be of interest to all of you. The main topic, of course, is to introduce Oracle strategy and innovation for on-premise solutions. 30 seconds for our safe harbor statement. I will ask all attendees, please, to mute themselves. Thank you. So our objective from the workshop today is to share Oracle commitment to innovations and support for all on-premise solutions and products, EBS, PeopleSoft, JDE, and Siebel as well. This is the core objective to show you Oracle strategy, Oracle innovation, Oracle roadmap towards the commitment to the support and innovation on those on-prem solutions. This is one of the core objectives. Other objective, of course, is to listen to you. We know that all of you are on-prem EBS and maybe other Oracle products customers, so we need to listen to your challenges, your pains. We understand there are certain challenges our partner SIL regarding reporting, regarding accrual transformation. So we need to listen more to those challenges and maybe take them one by one basis later on. As well, the third objective is to take an actions on your digital transformation roadmap. So we'll show you today as well Oracle engagement model for digital maturity assessment, digital transformation for public sector. Now, Oracle is not anymore a product company. We sell services, so we get engagement with public sector organization from the early start of identifying the digital transformation initiatives until the implementing the full transformation, designing the transformation roadmap, the architectures required, and the products and services, and then be with the government, be with the public sector during the implementation of those modernizations. So this is simply the objective of today's session. We'll be discussing specific topics today. So we'll be talking about trends and challenges in public sector industry. Public sector, by large, is the most regulated industry on the planet. As there are certain organizations like the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the IFAC organization that eventually set forth specific standards, policies, frameworks that need to be followed by the public sector. And also there are certain challenges because the massive diversity of the public sector portfolio in healthcare, in education, central government, local government, national and subnational government. So there are certain challenges in managing public finance and managing the resources of the government, taking into consideration this large size of public sector. And why we're discussing this eventually, because Oracle engineers engage in all the resources, not only with the public sector, with all industries, in order to cope with those challenges and trends, regardless of the deployment method, whether it is an on-prem solutions or cloud solutions or any other type of solution. Then we'll be discussing the strategic direction and key features of innovation. This is the heart of today's session of our on-prem solution, the strategy, the roadmap, and the innovation, and the latest features of the latest releases of the Oracle EBS and other Oracle on-prem solutions. We'll be closing by Oracle engagement model. What is our Oracle engagement model and commitment to public sector? How we will be partners, strategic partners, as a technology company with our public sector organizations. How we will take their hands into their digital transformation journey. And also our partner SIL will be sharing his upgrade approach and capabilities. To start with a quick introduction about the team who will be presenting to you today. My name is Mohammed Zaytoun. I'm a public sector, I live in Dubai for the last, started in 2002. I'm a public sector digital transformation advisor, joined Oracle 2018 to support public sector digital transformation initiatives. I have 24 years of public sector experience, leading public sector modernization and transformation programs, like the accrual transformation programs, budgeting and performance managed programs, the treasury programs, debt and treasury management programs, taxation reforms, all those types of reforms, and the underneath it, legislative, institutional, and system and procedural changes. So this is about myself. We have Paul. Paul, can you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Zaytoun. Hello to everybody and a very good morning to you all. My name is Paul, and I have been a part of Oracle for the last 20 years and an additional 5+ years with the supply chain in varied organizations as a part of engineering and manufacturing and supply chain. I have been a part of the value chain and the digital transformation services and solutions that Oracle offers. And as we go through this further, I will be happy to elaborate on that. Thank you very much.
Khalid.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for being here. My name is Khalid Ode, and I am the Principal Solution Engineer. I am part of the Siebel organization. I came from 15 years of experience in a different implementation for Siebel applications, focusing on an Oracle and different technologies and different applications, focusing on the innovation technologies as well. I've been with Oracle for 3 years. Been a pleasure being with you today. I'll be your Siebel expert in the session today. Please feel free to ask any questions.
Thank you, Khalid. So we'll start with presenting short video about the public sector digital transformation as a startup for this presentation. So we'll start with our first topic of today's session, which is trends and challenges in public sector. We'll be discussing the public sector transformations. What are the major modernization and transformations happening and happened in public sector? How the technology company to cope with those challenges and those trends. And then we'll be talking about the Oracle conceptual architecture for public sector. Well, as the slide depicts, there are certain waves of government modernization. We put them on tens of years from the 1990s until today, and also for the coming 10 years. When I say modernization, I'm not talking about digital transformation specifically. I'm talking about modernizing the government operation and operating model based on internal and external factors. So it's all started in the 1990s as an inside out. There were no specific pressures on the government to take the modernization and digital transformation initiatives seriously. It's only internal efforts within public sector organization and maybe by the guidance of international organizations like the IMF to start modernizing the accounting framework and the budgeting framework. And then in 2008, of course, we all remember the financial crisis, the world financial crisis, that eventually put massive pressure on government operations to start looking at the costing and the impact of government policies. Until the current pandemic, eventually, which is again an outside pressure on the government in order to start modernizing. So eventually, major public sector modernizations focus on specific issues such as fiscal position of the government, its management of financial risk, and substantive results and impact of government policies. These innovations cannot be implemented without supporting infrastructure of information rules, processes, and specifically the accounting and budgeting framework. This infrastructure also has to be modernized to cope with the pace of other fiscal and financial reforms. It started all by the accounting framework, and accounting basically is the basic building block of public financial management system, as they determine much of the content and classification of the information processed in managing public finance. So we saw in 1990s the very early waves of moving to accrual accounting in order to record not only the cash receipts and cash payment of government economic activity, but to record all the impact of any government economic activity within the government books. So this was the very initial. There are certain variations between where exactly countries are spending when it comes to this wave. So some countries, specifically Middle Eastern companies and also African companies, are still, however, they are pressured by the current outside external factors to digitize and modernize their application. They are still also working on their internal accounting framework. This was the first wave, and it took 10 years. And there were a lot of guidance from the International Monetary Fund and the IFAC organization in order to guide public sector on those transformations. And then the government started to take more forward-looking. So by not only looking at the impact of government policies on this year or next year, the government started to have more medium-term plans and medium-term strategies in order to cope with, to see the impact of any government policy and decision that's happening today in the future. And also, so they started implementing a budgeting framework like the medium-term budgeting framework, medium-term expenditure framework, and medium-term fiscal framework. Then the external factor of the financial crisis happened in 2008, puts more pressure on government to start on wave 3 and look more on the cost of delivering the services of the government. And also to look at the impact of government policies and government programs on the public, citizens, and community. So government started implementing costing of services, outcome-based management frameworks, and outcome budget frameworks. So please, can you please mute the? I'll try to mute eventually. Can you please mute yourself? Thank you. So this was the wave 3. I think we are still struggling in wave 3, and the current pandemic, which is the COVID-19, also due to the expansion in urbanization, flourishing of trade, and increasing demands on cities and communities for high standard of government services. Government started lately to change their strategic agenda to focus more on competitiveness of the quality of service delivery and quality of life of citizens, investors, and visitors. This led more government to sponsor and adopt smart city solutions by engaging with technology companies to design new business models. So this eventually was wave 4 that we are currently in. We are living in it. So a lot of countries and a lot of cities now are embracing the smart city solutions. Here in Dubai, they have cut a very long distance on this. They have implemented the smart city solutions on each and every service of the government. So now you can access all services of the government literally while you are at home using your smartphones. So eventually those are the key waves of the government. And the objective of showing this is that eventually Oracle understands those trends and transformation and introduces innovations into the portfolio of products and services that unleash potential of the power of data to transform it from the information that is useful into information that is essential. And eventually, this is the key challenge of all government organization, whether in our economy or in the Western economy, eventually is the information and how to reach the information and how to deal with the information within different layers of the government. Let me just put this hide this floating. Okay. The IMF, International Monetary Fund, eventually identifies 3 levels of public financial management. I think most of the audience knows what is a public financial management. This is the practice that eventually manage all the government resources. It's not something owned by the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Planning. It's something that all public sector practitioners, they deal on it. So eventually there are 3 levels identified by the IMF. They are the information, processes, and rules. These levers are the main infrastructure for all government resource management processes. And this slide eventually it depicts certain levels, certain processes that eventually is happening at different levels of the government, whether it's on the central government, like the macro planning, forecasting of the budgets, and also the fund and program government on the ministerial level. The execution and service delivery, there are certain processes and information and rules happening on the execution and service delivery, acquiring the resources, building and operating those resources, and delivering and connecting those resources to the service delivery. Revenue and tax management, what are the eligibility rules, who should pay what, when, the obligations on the public and on the business community, and also the transactional processing of all those revenue management, whether individuals or households. Also, the urban planning of the cities. This is one of the key pressures on the government, eventually revenue and the urban planning, urbanizing the and planning the city planning and zoning and code enforcement of the of the government policies, and also following up on the development of the cities and enforcing all the government policies on top of the developers and the owners and the landlords who are eventually developing the land. So those are government processes that happens at different levels on the government. And I am sure that this is one of the key challenges, the information now. The information consumed on the macroeconomic forecasting, it needs an information from the other level of the government, which is the fund management, but also needs an information on the from the revenue. The problem is that all those processes not only running at different platforms, different levels of the government, they run at different technologies and different platforms, and mostly in our region, mostly all of them, or most of them, they are manual information if they exist. So because of this is one of the major challenges for public sector. Eventually, Oracle started to look at the digital transformation of public sector. The objective of this slide, of course, is not to go into the technicality of different layers of technology and the deployment method, whether it's an EBS, Hyperion, JDE, PeopleSoft, or it's a cloud transformation. We are, as Oracle, we are investing on all those technologies and all those deployment methods. It's all about government and public sector decision where they want to go, and we engage with them based on that. So eventually, Oracle modernization initiatives for public sector introduces fundamental innovations to these three levers, which are the information, processes, and rules. Those are the three levers of public financial management. So we introduce by our technology and by our services fundamental innovation to these levers, modernize and automating them so that the public resource management transforms from a routine, mundane operations committed by limited number of PFM, public financial management practitioners, into a more strategic functions characterized by dynamic, continuous development, and also modernization as a key tool to achieving sustainable growth for the government. Oracle also know quite well and innovate for the public sector to enable the evolution of the government information mindset to a community and citizen engagement mindset. Eventually, this will enable government to expand public sector service delivery by connecting citizens, workers, assets using the latest technology, IoT technology, artificial intelligence. So it will be, it can expand the services to the public in a more modern fashion, in a more better user experience. And also it will enable all public financial management reforms, transformations like affluent transformation, the budgeting reforms, the service costing, tax reforms, with a connected platform and a connected applications. Also, it will help the government to ensure the compliance with the public sector industry regulations, like the International Public Sector Accounting Standards, classification of function of government, the COFOG classification, the GFS, all those types of standards and policies that comes out of the international regulatory organization like the IMF and the IFAC. Also, this will enable governments to respond to public sector trends. Public sector latest trends shows that 60% of worldwide population will be living on cities and urban areas by 250. This eventually put massive pressure on a public sector and government in order to modernize the service delivery and urbanizing their lands in order to achieve sustainability and transparency by implementing the smart city and resilient solutions. Also driving the cost efficiencies and make the government more agile and preferred work to place for talent and bringing more talent to work. And eventually the external factors like the urbanization and COVID-19 and also the world financial crisis in 2008, eventually it will expedite the digital transformation and it will change the strategic agenda of the government decision makers, whether politicians, policy makers, or practitioners on public financial management to take the digital transformation initiatives more serious. There is no room for delaying any of that because eventually those are external factors. Otherwise, government will start losing their competitiveness and they will start losing their investment. People will not come to invest because now governments and countries are competing with each other. We see now the Dubai is taking and UAE eventually is taking joint steps into smart city. In Egypt, where I'm from as well, they are started to take the concept of smart city. So they are developing and urbanizing a lot of cities across the countries. I know Africa, a lot of African countries also are taking the same initiative. So eventually technology here comes as enabler. And this is our objective, is to get engaged with you as public sector clients in order to design those initiatives and put you on the first step on the roadmap. The last slide of my presentation of my section eventually is talking about the government fiscal management information system, the GFMIS, and those are the basic building blocks for government operation. They are connected and they consume services from each other. So if we talk about the macroeconomic forecasting and budgeting, this box eventually, which is looking at the macroeconomic variables. Start by the macroeconomic planning, and then a lot of variables goes into the medium-term fiscal planning and budgeting. It consumes a lot of information from the financial management and from human resources in order to set the baseline for the government and start running the sensitivity analysis of different economic variables for future plans. What if analysis and what if scenarios, and then kicking off the budgeting process, which is the most critical process for public sector. It's not like the private sector. Private sector budgeting is only an internal document. Budgeting in public sector is considered the most important policy document that is being seen by not only the public sector, but the private sector, the capital market, and investors as well. Also, the government procurement is part of our solutions. Making it very modern, very connected, very open, very transparent for all parties during the early sourcing processes and tendering processes, and enabling the public sector organization to implement all procurement policies and make everything digitally and paperless. Tax and revenue management, this is what is highlighted in blue. This is offered only in cloud. The rest are all capabilities that are offered whether in cloud or on-prem solution. So at tax and revenue management, this is also one of the key components and building blocks. And the trending demands for public sector organization is to start looking at the tax rules and eligibility rules and transaction processing, and get citizens engaged using different channels in order to make the tax declaration and tax follow-up and tax audit. So all this also is available on our portfolio of products. Investment and debt management strategies, those are the two faces of the same coin. Also, it's very critical, and also we have solutions here. The financial management suite with the all components of payment management, payment gateways, payment management for all government services, accounting and consolidation, commitment management, project and asset management. All those components are on the financial management suite. And we have our human resource management. Of course, it's very modern, as my colleague Paul and Khalid will show you today, that we have a new user experience specifically for EBS clients. Also, we have the subsidies and program management. This is offered in cloud, and it's very trending as well, because it will link the government programs, the budget programs, to the citizens. So for instance, if the government has a program in order to reduce the unemployment rate from 20% to 11% in the coming 5 years, how to design those programs and how to identify the geographical areas and the people that should be part of this program from the citizens, and who are the partners that will be working with us on this program. So eventually, the subsidies and program management is dedicated for the government subsidization of government services, as well as managing the government programs with the outcomes and outputs, and everything is connected to the planning and budgeting. So eventually, not to take too much time, all this, of course, is built on top of the latest infrastructure and platform, deploying the latest technology like the Internet of Things, chat pods, event hub, mobility, and all other machine learning, all other latest technology to enable the government run in a very modern fashion. By that, I come to my end of my section. So we'll move now. We'll have a room. We hope we'll have a room maybe 15 minutes by the end of the presentation for the Q&A, and to start sharing your questions and your pains and challenges in your current applications. So Paul, can you please?
Thank you, Zaitun. If you can stop sharing, I'll share my screen. Okay, I trust you can see my screen all. All right, so taking off from where Zaitun left off, I will cover the the overall strategy, the ongoing investments part, and then hand it over. And during this time, you may feel free to ask some queries, or you can keep your queries towards the end of the session, as Zaitun was talking about. As Zaitun was earlier, discussing, and as we from Oracle have also been, kind of talking about it for the last couple of years, our, commitment to the e-business suite as an on-premise solution, continues, considering the fact that, it is our flagship product. We have a large install base which exists across the various sectors of the industry as well as the government, be it in terms of ministries, be it in terms of finance, be it in terms of defense, and so on and so forth. And we made sure that we have an ongoing investment program, which means our product development continues, our product development teams continue, and we make sure that there are new releases coming out and new features that get enabled on the solution. However, with the maturity of the solution, obviously, the updates are more or less once in a year, and it is not that they come out with features which are not existing. We just enhance some of the features based on the advancements that keep happening across the globe, both from a technology perspective as well as from a business perspective. The cloud adoption is one such, where we made sure that our solutions are available to you on the cloud. We provide both private as well as infrastructure services, in terms of making sure that you get the best of the solution without having to worry about your hardware and all the other management, the IT infrastructure management that goes with that. And along with that, we make sure that the regular updates are provided to you, as well as making sure that you have a long-term support for the products that we provide. So the road to the innovation continues, and the innovations revolve around the functional part of it, the user experience part of it, and the operational efficiency. And these are not just innovations that we bring about just because one bright day some bright person thought that, okay, this has to be a part of the solution. No, we have customer driven enhancements. We ensure that we listen to you. We have customer forums, and based on the inputs from these forums, based on certain voting criteria, we make sure that these innovations and these structures are put in place. And this innovation continues with the latest release, which is latest as October 2020, and the last release was 12.2.10. And obviously, along with this comes what we call as the ECC, which is the Enterprise Command Center. The Enterprise Command Center is all about the dashboards, the capability of an entity within an organization or within a government segment to leverage dashboards which can provide them with a deep insight in terms of the way the processes are getting executed within, and how certain functions are getting aligned with the rest of the business KPIs, and so on and so forth. The support for all these products obviously will continue, and for 12.2, which was released way back in September 2013, is going to continue up to 2031. So you can see the kind of commitment that that we are bringing to the table in terms of the long-term support. And should that be a requirement, we make sure that additional services can be leveraged with what we call as advanced customer services. So advanced customer services will provide you with all the relevant support capabilities, and at the same time help you to upgrade to the latest, so that you can leverage all these innovations and make sure that you are aligned to the latest release and get the best benefits out of it. And probably, as you are aware, the upgrade itself is something free, other than the effort that is involved. And obviously, if you want to leverage the dashboards that I earlier talked about, there is definitely an effort that is associated with that, and those are the things that you will have to take into consideration. Now, when we talked about the user experience, we have what we call as, enhanced, systems capability, making it device independent. So when we say device independent, it means that you can access the same, the Oracle EBS on your laptop, on your desktop, or on your iPads, tabs, and mobile devices, whether they are iOS or Android enabled. So that gives you a huge, leverage of cross-device capability. And on top of that, we make sure that most of the transactions are HTML or web page enabled, so that you do not have to, look at, certain levels of drilling down into the forms as it was the norm. And as we progress, we also make sure that the online patching is something that we have introduced. And we make sure that your users continue to remain online while the new release patches as well as the support patches are getting applied. So that means that the user downtime is minimized as much as possible, and you can actually decide and have a predictable maintenance window and make sure that your critical business operations and other revenue activities, revenue generating activities continue undisturbed. So this is the, the enterprise command center that I was talking about. We call it as the Google of, the Oracle EBS. And what do we mean by Google? If you look at this on the far left-hand side of this particular screenshot, you have something called as a search. Now, this search field is not a kind of a static search. It is got the capability to be a smart search. So which means just like as in Google, as you start typing, it will keep changing the relevant, dashboards and, the kind of structures that are there. So it has a huge capability in terms of, having a consumer-like search with the filters, right? You have the data which gets recalculated with relevance to the drill down or with relevance to the search criteria that you apply. And also, you can take action on selected transactions, which means that when you drill down, you go into that particular transaction and you want to reapply certain values and certain factors on that transaction, you can do so, right? So that gives a huge amount of, capability into the dashboards, making them dynamic instead of just being a static set of, reports and other kind of dashboards that you might get. And this is across the functional areas in terms of financials management, in terms of order management, in terms of asset management, procurement and projects. I'm not too sure if manufacturing is going to be a criteria that you might look at, but obviously manufacturing is also there. And human capital management, you can see that it is across the entire human resources. So when it comes to financials management, we have, especially with relevance to lease and finance management and contracts and assets, which means that you can now look at the way your leases are being, enabled. You might have certain bill collection centers located in various buildings, or you might have opened up your properties and facilities for other, commercial establishments to establish their, centers so that you collect revenue from them. So you can decide as to whether it hits the accounts payables, whether it becomes a liability that has to be posted, or whether you're going to be in terms of looking at the revenue side of the set of transactions. And obviously, with relevance to the logistics part of it, we have the complete,
we lost your voice. Paul?
Are you able to hear me? Are you able to hear me?
Hello?
Hello, can you
Maurice,
hear me?
can you hear me? Or
Yes, we can hear both of you.
All right, okay, great. So I'm continuing. I'm not too sure. Zaitun, you can hear me now, I hope.
Yes, now it's good. Fine.
All right, okay, perfect. So with relevance to this, we have, complete, logistics management services, both in terms of transportation, warehouse, landed cost, and so on and so forth. Facilities management, which we provide across the assets that you own, both in terms of your properties, in terms of your IT assets, in terms of your equipments. It could be any of these. Make sure that you have the right set of contracts enabled with your vendors who provide these services, as well as the kind of contracts that you need to have to ensure that your own maintenance and services teams are able to kind of manage these on their own to a large extent. And when you look at procurement, if you see down, there is a star associated to that, consumer like shopping enabled via the ECC framework. Now, what is even more important for us to understand is that we all know that within the government, there are very clear-cut structures in terms of as to who is, enabled for buying and requisitioning, certain types of materials and certain types of services. So you might not want to throw open the requisitioning just across the entire segment or of the requisitioning team, right? So you can actually put a structure in place. You can choose to decide who can buy what and how that entire cataloging can be controlled. And this is across the contracting as well as projects, and ensuring that all these other details that come along with the starting from the requisitioning is carried forward through the entire procurement cycle. And that in turn leads to what we call as a touchless buying, complete seamless integration, starting from the point of identifying who your vendors should be, making sure that they are able to provide the right set of criteria to become your vendors, and they get approved, and then they are continued to be monitored, their performances are continued to be monitored. And then as you progress, you start creating requisitions, you monitor how much of requisitions are getting tied to these kind of contracts, and then based on the spend, you get a spend analysis report, and you go ahead to receive the quantities. You don't even have to pick them up physically. You can have automated barcode scanning for enabling all the receipts, quality inspection done, and then you pay them, and it can be done through a trigger of an invoice which can be submitted by the vendor over the web or a portal, which will come and impact your EBS system. So all of this leads to the kind of situation that we are in. We are trying to minimize the level of the human physical contact without letting go of the level of interaction that we would like to have with them, right? It is unfortunate that we are not able to get to the level of physical contact, but at the same time, with the kind of situation that we are in, right, we would like to minimize that. And we would like to ensure that, however, the level of transactions, the level of interactions, the level of checks that we have continues to be as it was, but much more secure, much more digitized. And that is where the entire concept of having a digital transformation driver comes into play. And this is more so with human capital management. So when we look at the human capital management today in offices, the good old days, we used to have the HR calling people down for sessions, and then looking at performance criteria, and then having a one-on-one, and so on and so forth. However, today, that one-on-one and all those physical sessions have to be minimized, considering again the level of the pandemic that we are in and the situation that we are in. So does the human capital management system allow to have those interactions, but still in a digitized manner, and making sure that we are able to minimize the physical contact? Yes, and that is something we find that a whole set of the government organizations, the entities within the government and the public sector are leveraging to a large extent. And that is something that we have found more and more. These are just examples of how the dashboards can be leveraged. You can look at invoices, and as you can see, it gives you multiple sets of dashboards in multiple formats. You can have a bar graph, you can have a vertical bar graph, a horizontal bar graph, you can have a pie chart, right? And you can drill down, you can click on a particular transaction, it will open up the specific transactions, and you can click on that transaction and it opens up with that particular invoice, and you can drill down into that. And on top of that, obviously, as you can see, you have the set of the HTML the pages, and it gives you a very huge similarity in terms of whether you are accessing it on desktop or whether you are accessing it on your on your mobile devices. That makes it cross-device independent. And these are all, it looks like a kind of a large read-through slide, but I just wanted you to consider the fact that, these are all enhancements that Oracle continues to provide. And this should also give you an indication about the level of commitment that Oracle continues to make. And you must also understand that in each of these segments, there are independent product teams which are actually collaborating and making sure that these are a highly integrated suite of products with all the enhancements and what are the functional areas that it impacts as well. So that is the level of commitment that we bring as Oracle to the level of the details. And as we speak, we have a lot of detailing that happens, and I just wanted to move slightly ahead in terms of the other solutions that we provide as on-premise, which is both JD Edwards in terms of the modernization that we have brought into play. The same level of project management, the controls that we provide is also applicable to JD Edwards and PeopleSoft. PeopleSoft is a widely accepted, solution catering to a large extent of campus management and campus support systems, which means that you have a whole set of student and university management solutions that comes into play. PeopleSoft provides obviously the largest, solutions today in the world when it compares to the education side of things. So be it in terms of schools, universities, higher level of learning institutions. So across these segments, PeopleSoft is the one which gets leveraged. JD Edwards is a solution which comes for the farming, the agriculture sector, the livestock management, and so on and so forth. It is very popular with the agricultural segment and the livestock management sector, and the food and produce, the food segment side of the industry segment, so to speak. So that is where we have, and as I said, both of these are supported in terms of the extended premier support, which goes right up to 2031. And we make sure that the level of dashboarding is also applicable for JD Edwards as well as PeopleSoft. We have enabled what we call as an orchestrator studio, which gives a very simple graphical and intuitive dashboarding capabilities with the modern user, kind of this thing. So that is the part where I just wanted to kind of close out, and I just wanted to state that any of these comes with all the modern, the kind of capabilities, be it in terms of chatbot integration, which means that you can have an Oracle digital assistant, or you can have a chat bot delivered by a third party, and we still provide you the relevant, the chatbot capabilities and so on and so forth. So with that, I would like to close out my session. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them, or even during the question and answer session, I will be there to provide you with the relevant answers as the case may be. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Khalid, I will share my screen. Also, our colleague Khalid will talk about Siebel roadmap for the CRM.
Yeah, thanks, Layton. Thanks, everyone. As you've seen, Oracle's commitment towards the on-premise application and the continuous delivery and continuous development on our on-prem application. I just wanted to give you a glimpse about our strategy when it comes to one of our largest CRM installed base with more than 6,000 Siebel successful customers in the world Siebel CRM application. Basically, as you might be aware, Oracle Siebel is having a rich history with more than 25 years delivering the best-in-class CRM solution with more than 21 industry-specific applications and one of the largest concurrent customer deployment with more than 65 users. With all of those facts, actually, Oracle is keep investing and keep developing new enhancements and new features, new capabilities to our Siebel CRM customers. And that actually, this slide actually depicts and shows the huge investment and the huge development happened from the adoption of Siebel application 25 years till the moment. So this shows that there is no actually end date for the continuous development towards a digital transformation for our Siebel customers. So just to give you a glimpse and high level of the major enhancements and features we brought to the Siebel applications. One is the actually intuitive user experience with the open UI capability, meaning the Siebel application can run on top of different devices, tablets, iPads with the same user experience. And that was actually very difficult for all Siebel customers, for Siebel 8.1 customers. Second, it provides an easier than ever tools to update and get the new enhancements and regular updates that actually comes from Oracle side. So we have like a quarterly updates and quarterly batches bringing in new capabilities and new features. We have brought in new capabilities like cloud native features for Siebel application, which can be easily run on the cloud. And this would save a lot of money in terms of TCO and enables you to run Siebel application on any cloud environment, on AWS, on Oracle, on Microsoft even. So that actually brought a huge reduce in the TCO for our customers. Last but not on the overall Siebel application in terms of development. So we have brought new development tools replacing Siebel tools. It's a web-based tools that enables the developers to easily develop lots of enhancements, updates, and put those updates on the production environment with a zero downtime. So there's no need to interrupt or disrupt your business operation while you have any updates or upgrades on Siebel application itself. And this is like a strategy across all of our applications. So just to recap, we have brought new capabilities in terms of user experience, in terms of interface, in terms of customer experience, even for our customers portal. We have brought new tools for monthly updates, running the Siebel application on Dockers, on cloud capabilities with a zero downtime, providing business efficiency for you. And that's for sure bringing a new capability to 2031, adopting the microservices and big data capabilities underneath Siebel application. So that shows actually our commitment in Oracle that would enable you to confidently maximize and expand your investment in Siebel application. And that gives you the assurance and our commitment to support the current applications that you have in Siebel, and moreover, providing you with new capabilities and new features. Thank you.
Thank you, Khaled. So now we'll be talking about Oracle engagement model. First of all, Oracle, as I mentioned at the beginning, it has changed from a product-based company into a service organization that is very keen to strategically get into partnership with all our clients. And the most important client for Oracle and the most important segment is the public sector. Why is that? Because Oracle is #1 in the installed base worldwide in public sector by far. any other competitor like SAP and other competitors Workday. So we are number one. This is not what we are saying. This is what are the industry analysts are saying, like Gartner's and like other industry analysts saying about Oracle. So it's very important to be partners in the digital transformation journey for our public sector clients. And of course, you distinguished guests of today's session. We know that all of you are part of the public sector as defined by the International Monetary Fund, whether it's government-related entities or it's central government organizations. So this is a very sample model of our engagement model. So we engage before you procure or buy any service from Oracle. We engage with you in a discovery meeting to do some sort of maturity assessment of your digital of your business processes, the level of maturity of your of digital maturity of your business processes, to understand where are the pains and what are the key business drivers for your organizations, what are the strategic initiatives that you run internally, not from a digital perspective, but also from a business perspective, the waves of modernization that you are taking internally in your public financial management, in your operation, in your different levels of government. And we start developing from the current state by injecting different levels of expertise, subject matter experts, industry experts, architects who understand quite well the different platforms and different systems and know quite well how to take them and put them into Oracle technology. So it's an end-to-end. It starts by planning and end by adaption and learning and continuous learning onwards. So in this journey, eventually we deploy our maturity assessment framework. This framework eventually is designed by a group of consulting firms. It does some sort of digital maturity in different functional and process areas across your organization. And there are certain definitions when you are in marginal, when you are stable, when you are best in class, and there are ratings. So we identify quite well where are you. This is a very simple sample. It's approximately 1,000 plus maturity assessment questions in different process areas, in different like ERP, supply chain, manufacturing, accounting, consolidation, reporting, compliance, audit, all those functional areas. We do some sort of maturity assessment and we identify where exactly your organization stands. Is it marginal? Is it stable? And we do this not alone. We do this, of course, with you. So you answer the question, or we answer the questions together in the early discovery phases. And also we portray and we put a business impact. What is the impact of this into your operation? So we start taking the higher impact and the lower maturity to put them first on our digital maturity assessment report. And then we come with the report, and the report say a high level a snapshot of exactly where this overall, let's say this is the finance technology maturity assessment. You are at a stable stage based on our maturity assessment framework, and you need to move to transformational. So you need to take specific steps in order to move to transformational. More elaboration and more details on the details of the finance maturity. So we start plotting down the planning and budgeting, risk and control, profitability and cost management, payables and expense, what exactly the current state and what is the future state. We cannot move and we cannot digitize everything together. We need to understand quite well together how we move you into the digital roadmap without interrupting your operation and keeping you working smoothly without interrupting the public financial management operation. Also, the sample of the deliverable, it's talking about the current situation at your organization and future opportunity, what exactly the future opportunity and benefits that you reap if you started this digital maturity assessment, and what are the strategic initiatives that you need to take, which one is high and which one is medium. And then the whole architectural work starts by engaging our architect, enterprise architect, and different technology architects to start drawing all the integrations, all the platforms, how this will be integrated, how the information will flow between the systems until we implement all this together. So this is simply the engagement. So the objective of showing you this engagement, of course, is to start a one-to-one session with each and every client of you who is interested, who has a digital transformation agenda, and he needs to get in a partnership with Oracle to start leading and working with him on this agenda. So by now, this is our part. Our partner now, SIL, will talk about the upgrade approach. So Deepak, I don't know whether you are attending with us or who will be presenting this part.
Mohammed, before SIL presents, there's a question that has come up on the chat with regards to upgrading Hyperion. Would you like to take it now, or would you like to take it after the SIL presentation is done?
I can take it once the SIL presentation is done. I'm reading it right now. Okay, keep it towards the end. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
So it's Amina who's going to present on our side. Yeah.
Okay, good morning, everybody. So I am Amina Tufani. I'm working at SIL. So today I'm going to talk about the implementation approach for upgrade and as well as SIL capabilities. So I'll be talking about Oracle EBS as well as Siebel and Hyperion planning. So basically, when we are talking about the implementation approach, we have two options. So either we upgrade the current version to the latest version by applying the patches, or we go for a fresh implementation of the new version. Now, what is the difference between the upgrade through patching or the fresh implementation? So going for an upgrade through patching, it's like you won't require any data migration because we're taking the application as is and patching it to put it to the next version. So history data is available on the same instance. And in terms of your processes and setup, so there won't be any major changes. And but the only thing is that when we go for an upgrade through patching, there is a downtime which is required from the customer side. So this is of course discussed at the time of the implementation. Now, if we go for a fresh implementation, so if we go for fresh implementation, so in case there are new processes or new functionalities that have to be implemented, so it's a bit easier because we are implementing from scratch. And of course, the fact that it's a fresh implementation, migration is required. So we have to take the data like opening balances of your transaction. And so there we don't have any downtime since it is a fresh implementation. So next, we're going to talk about the implementation of the Treasury accounting for Rodrigue Regional Assembly. So for the Rodrigue Regional Assembly, we have implemented the Oracle Financial version 12.2.9. So initially, they were on the version 11.5.10.2. And they were using only one operating unit. Now, given that the requirement of the user was to come up with several operating units for each commission or each, if you could call it a commission or department or ministry, so we had to do a fresh implementation, and where we had to set up several operating units for each commission. And of course, during the implementation, we had the data migration, sorry, the data migration of the budget, bank accounts, suppliers, open AP invoices, and outstanding check. And also, given that we have a customized cashier and payroll system at the regional assembly, Rodrigue Regional Assembly, so we had to rework on the integration of these third-party system with Oracle General Ledger, and this was done using the standard API. Now, this was for the EBS 12.2. Next, we have the e-budget system for the Ministry of Finance. So in 2014, we implemented or Hyperion Planning version 11.1.2 for the Ministry of Finance. And given that we have already implemented Oracle Financial for all the ministries, Hyperion Planning was integrated with the General Ledger of Treasury Accounting System, so that when the budget preparation is approved, all the budget is integrated to the general ledger, where execution of the budget can happen for all the ministries. Now, this integration was done through the mapping of dimensions that we have in Hyperion Planning with the chart of account segments of general ledger in Oracle Financials. And in terms of reporting, so the generation of the budget book for the Ministry of Finance was done using Oracle Financial Reporting Studio as well as BI Publisher. And right now, MoFed is planning to go for an upgrade of the e-budget system to the new version. And this will be done together with our partner, Oracle Consultancy Services, in the near future. And our next case study is for regarding the crime occurrence tracking system for the Mauritius Police Force. So currently it is running on Siebel 8.1.1.4. And we did a proof of concept by re-implementing the system using the Innovation Pack 2020, where the following enhancements were done. So the current system has customization, and while doing the POC for the re-implementation, we managed to increase the number of customization, and there was less dependency on scripting. Workflows were available and used, workflow available out of the box. And there were data models that have been changed dramatically and have been enhanced in the application. And there were business logic also that were available by default and that could be used for the proof of concept. And also we have a slide where we have the certifications that SIL has done for Oracle Financial, Oracle SCM, SCM, Oracle HCM, HR Cloud, as well as public sector. So these are the different certifications that have been done at SIL. So this would be all on my side. I would like to thank you and pass on to Mohammed.
Thank you, Amina. So I think now it's the Q&A time. We'll start by the first question on the chat from Vinay, Minister of Finance. Agenda was upgrading of Hyperion 12C. So may I know, Vinay, please, can you please introduce yourself and ask the question? Mr. Vinay?
You can unmute, Vinay.
Okay.
You can unmute.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes,
can you
yes,
hear me?
we can hear you. Yes.
Yes, hello, good morning, everybody. I'm Vinay Gajadur from Mauritius, Ministry of Finance. So I have just put the agenda on this. We have Hyperion system, which is working very fine for the preparation of budget. So we are planning to upgrade it to Hyperion 12C. So we wanted to have more highlights on this, more insight from your parts. Hello.
Yes, thank you, Vinay.
Yeah.
I think, Amina, since you are talking about the upgrade, can you please take Vinay question? Eventually, as Oracle, we are still committed to Hyperion products. We are implementing innovations in Oracle Hyperion, but I think if it's something related to upgrade, so I think SIL can take this question, please.
Yes, so currently the setup at the Ministry of Finance is a bit specific. It is a bundle which was deployed on Oracle Exalytics, and there are OBIEE and other products involved. So the architecture for the new version is fairly different from what it is currently. And this is why I think Amina mentioned in her presentation that for this one, we intend to work with Oracle to define the best way to perceive the upgrade while we limit the disruptions in terms of the operations of Ministry of Finance. So this is essentially how we are looking at it. We have also started to inquire about the various aspects of proceeding with this upgrade. I think what would help at some point in time is to have Oracle in the discussions, so that we better understand also if there are other things to be considered apart from just a technical upgrade of the platform. If there are other areas where we add value in terms of the operation of Ministry of Finance, I think these are things we also need to take on board while we are looking at this, and we can discuss with Oracle and find the best approach to move forward.
Thank you, Raj. I think, Moise, if you can engage me on this on a separate session with Ministry of Finance, and I think we may as well require OCS at certain point in time if there is anything technical related to the platform or the infrastructure. So, any other question?
Yes, actually, we wanted to hear about the new features which Oracle, which Hyperion 12c actually has. So we were expecting, our team was expecting something like that from your part. So, yes.
So eventually, Vinny, I think we need to take this to a separate session. We'll also bring it, prepare ourselves for to talk about the new features and enhancements on the Hyperion. And we'll bring also one of our Hyperion experts to attend this session with you. So we'll plan this with Moise, and yourself and your team as well, so we can have this in a very near future, maybe next week or something.
Okay,
Mohammed, hi, Moise here. Just to add, hi Vinay, I'm Moise Khan. I'm the Oracle Territory Manager for Mauritius, and I deal with on-premise applications. I'm new, so I guess most of you guys or almost anybody on the call would not know me. Not new to Oracle, but new to Mauritius. Okay. So we have been having conversations with SIL, with regards to Ministry of Finance, Hyperion deployment. In fact, I also spoke with our team that was previously engaged, a gentleman by the name Forrest Erdosi. He also goes by the name Peter, who was, who is actually a public sector business development representative. And one of the things that we wanted to let you guys know is the Hyperion deployment and as well as upgrade itself will be a totally a macro topic to deal with. We'll have to look at it at a micro level and understand where the Ministry of Finance is today and where you want to be in next months based on what Mohammed was explaining prior during his presentation. We would like to do a discovery session specifically with the Ministry of Finance, based on which we can come up with recommendations or address any ongoing questions or concerns that you might have. I will post my email address on the chat, and maybe with the help of SIL, we can set up a follow-up meeting and do a much in-depth detailed, have a much in-depth detailed discussion with you and your team, if that would be okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Vinay. Thank you, Moise. Any other question before we end our session? Any question on the capability of the EBS application, different products, accrual transformation? Please feel free to ask. I have something on the chat. This is the Moise contact number. Okay. So thank you everyone for your time. We'll be sharing with you the presentation, And we will take it one-to-one meeting with our colleague Moise and also our partners SIL. There's something in the chat also.
No, it's me again.
It's you again.
So,
okay.
So for everybody who's attended the meeting today, thank you so much for your time and for listening in. We just want to let you know that as customers, you have choices. You know, in whatever direction you want to move. Like if you want to stay with your on-premise environment and upgrade it, you have the choice of doing that. If you want to migrate over to a SaaS Fusion deployment with Oracle, you have the choice to do that. If you want to get rid of your data center and have a cloud setup, then maybe you can upgrade your applications and host it on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. You have a choice to do that as well. So, you know, before any decision is made, or if you want to know how best you can take advantage of what you have already invested, and also looking at the future trends in the industry. If you need any advice, any help, any questions that need to be addressed, feel free to reach out to myself, my team, and SIL, and we will be glad to address them and be a part of your digital transformation journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Moise. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you, the team Oracle, for addressing the customers in Mauritius and Botswana, and for the insights. Of course, we stay in touch, and we'll continue the conversation with the customers and yourselves in the picture, and we'll find solutions to the way forward. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Raj, for arranging this. Appreciate your help.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you, Moise, and thanks to the team and distinguished.
Yes.
See you soon, inshallah. Bye-bye.